Hello everybody, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee, and today I'm taking a look at Flamme Rouge BMX. This is a children's game. It says age is about 6+ on the side of the box there, and I think that's about correct here. This is themed around BMX bike racing, which I think is so cool. That dirt track, jumping the hills and all that stuff. This is based on the original game Flamme Rouge, which was more of a Tour de France, street racing type of a thing. You don't have to be familiar at all with the original one to be able to play this, and certainly your kids don't, because they probably haven't played that one if you're looking at this at all. Let me show you how simple this one is, how it plays, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Here's Flamme Rouge BMX set up on the table. Players are trying to race their bicycle races around here to complete one lap, crossing the goal line first. Each player has a bag here with different tokens showing numbers of how many spaces they can move, and their racer out here. On players' turns, they will reach into the bag and pull out 3 tokens, secretly looking at them and choosing one of them to play, putting the other 2 back into the bag. All players will then reveal at the same time their total movement. So if these were the tokens revealed here, starting with the player in the front, they would move the number of steps shown. I would move these steps here. The green player will move 1, and then yellow goes on 2, 3, 4, 5. After all players have moved, you will roll this die here, which shows how many spaces each player can slipstream or slide forward. You roll and knock over the green player. Now, if you rolled this, a 1, that means every player who is one empty space behind the player in front of them, starting from the back, can slipstream forward because they're breaking the wind pressure, the wind resistance. Then you look at this group here, and because this group together is one empty space away from the players in front of them, they will also slide forward. There are times where no one will slipstream in around, or where players can slipstream up to 2 spaces even, or draft up to 2 spaces, the other acceptable verbiage for that. Now at the end of each movement round here, any players who have 2 empty spaces in front of them, because any player can go to the outside edge, where all the spaces in front of them are open, will gain an exhaustion token and put that directly into their player bag, meaning they have more odds of drawing bad tokens in the future. There are some little features here. If you play with the ramp, if you're moving at least speed 4, you get to jump forward extra spaces. Hurrah! All of the boards here are double-sided as well, so you can see this one is more narrow. This one here has rubble, so if anybody would gain an exhaustion token by having nothing but open spaces in front of them, in this case both red and blue, would get 2 exhaustion tokens instead of 1. This track space down here shows some narrower areas, and then this one down here at the end, the alternate goal line, shows a downhill area where at the end of the race here you can reach into the bag, pull out 4 tokens instead of the normal 3, and choose to use 2 of them for movement, which is important because your bag might be filled with exhaustion tokens by the time you get around here. First player to cross the line wins, and I do want to also make note here that there are some variants here. You can build your own track, you can decide how you want to play with the track, all easy, all advanced side. You can play with younger children. Give yourself 3 of these exhaustion tokens if you're the grown-up here to make it harder on yourself at the start of the game. Or you can roll the die at the start of each round to have a little bit better idea of what the drafting conditions will be. And that's everything that comes inside of Flamme Rouge BMX. As you can see from the overview, this game is very simple. I think it's very manageable for children. If you're playing with children, they'll be able to follow along very easily. I think that they'll get the idea of the game, the loop of the game, down pretty quick. And after a few plays, I bet most kids could even play amongst themselves. This is definitely a children's game, not a family game, in the sense that this is made for kids. These are the original designers from Flamme Rouge, and I appreciate seeing that they were able to scale this game down to some very simple core essences of what made Flamme Rouge an interesting racing game. The biggest holdup for me, and it's not very complicated, but is that idea of the slipstreaming. You roll the die, you have to start from the back, and that individual or group can catch up the 0, 1, or 2 spaces, and then that new group can then catch up. As long as the kids you're playing with have that down, they can run this game. They can build the track. I like the double-sided track. I personally think that the two-lane basic track that they recommend is a little too basic for me. I just want those moments of excitement of having those canals or those corridors where there's only one single lane wide, and so it makes it feel more exciting, because this is a game that is about that feel. It has some of from the original game, that theme of trying not to burn out too much of your energy too fast, because what happens, you end up being in the front and you get those exhaustion tokens. Those exhaustion tokens are bad, and if you get flooded with too many of them, at the end of the race you're like, I just need 3, and you just pull out only ones, and you're like, oh, I can only choose amongst these ones. That's good, because it teaches a little bit about endurance and how energy works, about wind resistance and stuff. I was able to talk to my kid what it means by slipstreaming, that someone is breaking that wind resistance and you're able to slide up behind them more easily. That's cool. This game does allow for some of those conversations, and I always look for that as a plus in games that I play with my kid. All of these positives being said, and as well as the great production, the huge die, the color-coded bags and the pieces and everything, screen-printed meeples, I think it looks great on the table. That being said, for me, it is too simple of a game for me to want to keep coming back to, or to kind of recommend for my kid, hey, you know what we haven't played in a while? Flamme Rouge BMX. It is a children's game, and so I'm not rating it negatively for that. I just know that, for me, there are other children's games that I am a little bit more excited to pull back to the table and play with my kiddo. And, you know, we try to review as many of those as we can. But I think that this is a solid game for the kid. My daughter has always had fun, and I do have fun as well. This is not one I dread playing whatsoever, despite how simple it is. And so, in terms of generating a final score for that, I'm going to give this one a 6. Because a 6 out of 10, because I'm not hankering to play it necessarily, but it's one that I am definitely willing to come back to because it's so short, it's so quick and easy to play. My kid remembers the rules when we haven't played it in a little while, and that's a plus for me. Plus, being able to build the track a little bit, that's nice. So a 6 out of 10 means that this game is kid-approved. It gets a seal of kid-approved from the Dice Tower. One of the things that you should definitely be aware going into this game, though, is that you want to play it with 4 racers on the board, because the slipstreaming is more interesting. The tight spaces and running into the pack is far more interesting when there's more racers. My daughter and I have played this just even at 2 players several times. And what you can do very easily to fill out that track and have more racers is, I'm playing blue and she's playing red. We each, put out our movement pieces, and then we each pull into a bag of the player colors that we're not using. I pull out a yellow, she pulls out a green. And the Atama player, the Chris Yee Atama variant, just moves that number of spaces. Who cares if it's not strategic? There's just more interaction points going on the board, and we have fun with that, and I bet that you would as well. So if you pick this one up, because it's a good game made for kids, that they'll have fun with racing, and they'll have all the imagination of jumping off the ramps and doing all that cool stuff, I can recommend it for parents with kids. It says 6+, age 6+ on the box. Knowing your kid, maybe you could even go a little bit younger. This is a good follow-up racing game after something simpler like Monza, for example. So, yeah, kid approved, recommending it for that sense. Hope that is a helpful review for you. Thanks for coming out to the Dice Tower, and until next time, have fun gaming.